Hello everyone. Happy weekend, and welcome back to the Angular Spotify tutorial. So last week we've been working on we was implementing this list of album where you can display all of your favorite album, and then this week is we are going to implement the view where you click into one album and then it's going to display the album detail where you can place all of the track from one album. So because last week we wanted to do it all in the same 1 hour live stream, but at the end it was like extending to 2 hours. So um, I I have to edit a new stream for this week so that we will continue building the album detail. So let's get started. Thank you so much for before we start. Just want to say thanks for anyone who is watching today and also who is watching on the previous live stream. It means a lot to me. So let me share the screen real quick. So it's share screen. So it is screen two. So this is let me just zoom the font size again. That is where we left off last week. Just let me open the UI. Maybe we can see it from there easier. So what we added last week was we added this new navigation on the left side, and when you start to click into it, it will start to display you all of the favorite album that you need to click a heart shape in the Spotify app, which is something like that. You need to go into the album, and it needs to be favorite, and then you will see it on the view that I added last week, this one. So now when you wanted to click into one album, right, for example, at the moment it's only displaying that we are going to build it in the future. And also you can also navigate into this album view when maybe you play a song, or actually when you go into the playlist and you see a lot of track inside a playlist, you could technically click into a link in a playlist. It will redirect you to the album as well. And last week we store all of the album into a store. So let's go back to the code. We can see it quickly. Just let me close it. So let's go back to code. So go back to the code. So that is the album that we was working on last week. Let me just zoom in one more. Close it. I think it's it's better. So in the album that you can see on the screen, I just wanted to recap last week with it, and you can have the picture if you're not watching the last week. So there's a feature folder. It is basically just a folder, and inside there is three library, which is corresponding to a three Angular module. So the two list and detail is the Angular libraries to actually hosting the component that you are seeing on the screen. For example, this one, when you click into the album, this view here is corresponding to the module which we call list inside the feature folder of the album. And if you go into the list, there's only one module with one component, which is the album component that we was working on. And the reason why is, I'm just repeating myself, but it is because we are following the single component per module principle, where if you have one module, you only wanted to, you have one component, you want this component to belong to one module, so that you need to use it on the other module. You can just import the whole module, and then you have the component from this module into your needed module. Because like most of the time when you start to put on of the component, like maybe let's say you have put in 10 component in one module, and then you import this module into another component, maybe just use a button, but you has the code of like another 9 component, which is not really relevant to what you are needed. So I think when you start to separate it out into a single component per module, it will reduce a lot of overhead. Like you don't have to worry about where should you put this component. Is it in the same module, or it is in the core, or is it belong to this lazy loading module? Everything is gonna be just if you need this button component and you need to use it in a view, you just need to import the button module. Yeah. I think it's the rule that I'm following at the moment. Maybe it's not the best though, but for me it's work the best for me. So I hope it's also work good for you. So today we will go into this detail module, and basically we has created it last week. So on the view, at the moment there's only let's go back to the screen. So there's a content spacing which is a wrapper div to always has the same amount of padding and margin, so that it look consistent when you navigate between the view. So on the UI, you see on the whole. Okay, let me open one thing, then I can show you. Is it demo pro? It's the one. So on this side, okay, this is where I start to put the router outlet, and then it is where I render the lazy load brow. Like for example, this album, or when I click to playlist, it is gonna take the playlist and then it's gonna render inside. So the content spacing is basically, I say, just put in always there's a standard 16 padding, 16 pixel padding on the other side. I think that is how far I remember, but you get the idea. Okay, basically putting everything into the content spacing, it just to has the consistent spacing, so you don't get into the situation where you have, when you go to the view of something, it is very tight to the edge of the browser, and you go to the other view, it look much better. So we will just put everything into this content spacing, and it is the first thing. And actually I forgot how I did this for. I forgot how I did it for the let me just for the playlist, because the playlist is following the same principle though. If you click into a playlist, it will, first of all, there's a section on top, which is this one, which is where you display the playlist detail, and we are going to following the same for the album. So you can see, instead of putting a playlist here, I can just pass in the album, because the whole thing you're seeing, it is actually a component that I designed, and I know it's gonna be reused on different places. So that's why I export like all of those. Is the whole orange box that you're seeing, it's just everything I just put it in the same component for reusing purpose. So it is basically just a name, and at the moment you cannot just select it because I disable it on CSS by saying, I think I forgot the property. I think it's like select or something. Actually, let's look into it together. It just clears it. I think what is it? User select is none, because sometimes it is quite annoying when I click into this, I double click into it, and then the text at the let go is automatically selected by the mouse, and also maybe this line. So I just do the user select none to disable it. So let me just show you again what I mean. I think this just disable this for a demo purpose. Let me zoom in as well. Maybe one more. Yeah, okay, one more is good. So it's going to be so big, and if you go into this line, for example, you can see there is the user select, which is none, and then also there's a WebKit, because I will apply, is it applying tailwind thing? I think so. Let's assume if I disable it, which means I just don't apply this CSS property when I double click. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sometimes you see it will just selecting the text when I just double click, which is not the desired behavior you wanted. So just to So I just do this user select so that when the guy double click, it just doesn't has any side effect on the UI thing. So on good, it's gonna look the same for the playlist. It's just the view of the track is gonna look a bit thinner, because when you look into the album view, probably this thing is gonna be might be the same. I would say it might be the same. We could actually, we might not need to display the artist, or we still need, because maybe there's one album which is the combination of different artists. You never know. So this part where there's the cover of the album and the title and the artist is gonna be the same. We just don't need this album column, because you know that you are inside one album view, so it is not necessary that you need to display that one. And the date added, let me think. I'm not sure if we need it though, but we can consider. I think in the album maybe we don't have this information at all, because for the playlist, when you add the track into the playlist, they record the date where you added it in. But for the album, maybe not, because the album there's a release date, which is in this year of 2020, or like in the year of 1996, for example. So it might not be relevant. But the duration of the track, I think we also need to display. So in short, most probably we don't need this two column, this album, and then we don't need this that added thing. Actually, I need to zoom it in as well, clear this so you guys can see it better. Yes, okay. Yeah, I think it's look better now. Sorry, I forgot. So I think let's just go into the playlist detail. I forgot how I implement it in the playlist, so let's just look into it together, because it is normal that when you do something you just forgot. So in the playlist detail, I was implementing the playlist store, which is the store for the component itself, and it is only available for a playlist when it is when it is in it. So it is not available outside of the playlist. So if you need any information which is only related to the playlist itself, you can consider to have this. And I think most of the operation is going through this playlist store. And if you have this your own component store, technically you don't need to inject the global store inside the constructor, because you don't want the component to talk directly to the store itself. You just maybe you just need to inject the component store, and inside the component store, it is where you should injecting the global store, where like the place where you can access to different data from different part of your application. And then when you need to perform an action, you just need to export a method inside the playlist store, the component store itself, and then inside the component you just calling the method from the store. And inside the component store, there's a lot of effect. It's following the same like how you are working with NGI effect, where you don't really do the HTTP request and all of this stuff, like all of the stuff which is required, the communicating with outside, or is relying on third-party data, or it's like depending on WebSocket. You don't do it inside the component directly. You wanted to do it like through an effect. It is where all of the side effect thing happen. And inside the component store, you can define an effect, and what the effect does is it just triggering the it's just actually this effect is just gonna return you a subscription. And inside the effect thing, when you return it an observable inside this function, you can see it is a function, right? The effect is basically just a function, and inside the function, it takes in another function. And this function, this inner function, is gonna needed you to return is an observable. And when you receive this, like when the effect is returned, like when it is receiving an observable from the inner function, it basically just do a subscribe automatically for you, so you don't have to do this thing like display a dot toggle play or subscribe. Basically the effect is gonna do it automatically for you if you returning it an observable inside this function. For the detail, I think Joe and I will do a live stream. And for any one of you don't know about Joe, this is one of my friends who is the admin of Angular Vietnam group, and we've been doing some stuff together, and he was helping me a lot on the code review. So the plan is we will convert all of the subscribe function, like whenever I need to call a subscribe, we will do a small live stream so that we can convert all of that into maybe component store, so that we don't have any subscribe like method into a component itself. So long story short, technically we need to introduce a new album store for the album detail, and inside it's gonna store all of the information needed. So let's look into the playlist, what it is doing. So this is the store, and the first thing I do is I just take all of the parameter from the row, the activated row, which is the one is activated on the screen, and it is linked to a component. So I will be able to take this playlist ID from the param, and I like intentionally do the map here because technically you can do a shorter version of the map, which is the plug operator. Sorry. So you can just put in plug, I think. Yes. And if the observable, this param is always give you an observable of an object, you can just do plug of playlist ID. And then you can just, it is going to be equivalent to what's the map that on top. So it's the same. It's like inside the object, just taking the place ID and return it into the stream. Just continue return it into the stream. So the first, like the stream at the beginning is always return you an object, and after this operator, it will return you just a string. And because when they set any here, because it just doesn't know what is the type of this thing, so technically you can just put in string to say I am expecting a string out of this parameter object. Yeah, I just but at the moment just do map so that you will understand it easier. So I has the param. So from the param, it is basically at the end it is a stream of a string, which is the playlist ID that I have on the UI. So if I click into the album queue, this stream is gonna give me this string. If I click into this post row, it is gonna give me this ID. All good, I think. If you have any questions, just putting in the comment. So that is the first one. We need to get the ID so that we can start to communicate to the store and then taking detail of the album from the store. Or we need to go to the server if it is not inside the store. That's two use case. So I also has one is like I want to check if the playlist track is loading, which is this one, which is the track here. Because when I inside the playlist view, I don't have any information about the track of the playlist. I don't want to hash all of that into memory, because if I hash all of the track here, I might not even click into this playlist. I just only interest on this playlist. So the object from Spotify is very lean. It only has some basic information, and when I click into the playlist, I need to take the data from the playlist object which has maybe like title, description, and how many song. And also I need this one, which is an additional API call to the Spotify API to get the playlist track, the list of track here. And at the moment, I don't do any like pagination or like infinitive scrolling, but Spotify only give me maximum of 50. I mean, is it 50 song or like 100 song? I think it's 100 song for the track. They will give me like maximum of 100 song. And technically, if you have infinitive scroll, when you reach to the bottom, it should display the spinner, and then it will just keep adding the data into the store, and then you can start to keep rendering it on the UI. So that is the purpose of this loading. Basically just saying, I wanted to take all of the track, and if it's loading, just display spinner. The next one is current playlist loading, which mean I will need to see if I have this playlist data on the store itself. Otherwise, I also need to go to server and ask for it. Because if you click into the playlist that I favorite, for example, I like it. So I always have this data on the left side, and I need to store it on the store already. But let's say you go to the browse, and then inside there's like could be like 100 other playlists, and when you click into one, it is the moment when the playlist detail on the top need to start to trigger the API call to the server and ask for the information. Because on the data that I store in the store at the moment, there's only the list on the left, which not a lot. And usually, there's a lot other playlists you can allow the user to access from the UI. So that is how this one is meaning. So the playlist here is basically we take in the object itself, and inside, when I just has the playlist, I will store it inside the store. If you go back, no, it's not go back, just go into upper level, you can see there's a playlist ID here, and I just store it inside the store so that I might need to access it in the future easier. But I always can take it from the playlist param. It's just going to be the same technically. And then I have the function called load playlist, and then inside the sweet map itself, I will just select it from the store. And if you look into the load playlist function, it's going to be quite long because there's some logic need to be performed to check whether it is inside the store or not, and then I need to go to server. If it is, I don't have to, I just take it from store. But if it's not inside the store, I need to actually go to the server and ask for it. So that is this logic. It is basically an effect, and the param I can give the playlist is like I can give it an object which has the playlist ID. If you go back to the top, you see I pass in an object which has the playlist ID. So that is how the first param of this effect gonna look. You just say this is the type for my parameter. So inside you will have this observable param, and then I'll just do a simple pipe. So if the param is like emits a new value, which means that we call this from outside, I will try to take the playlist state from the state line. Okay, go into the playlist state. Actually, it's not, I would say it's not very complicated, but it is something you might not doing all the time. So maybe it's not very straightforward. So I will get the playlist state, and in the playlist state, what did I store? I store a normal. I mean, I'm mixing them at the moment because just to simply check to release the app quickly. But maybe we need to store this map into the other like slide of the store. So basically, inside the playlist state, I have this generic state. I extend from it, and I have the data, which is you can see it. This is the list of user playlists. So in this data, right, it is always your playlist, like your favorite playlist. You like it, and inside data is like purely your playlist. The map here is basically saying all of your playlist is inside the map, and it is mapping by a playlist ID to an object. So basically, when you say I need this playlist information, you just ask the map, do you have this playlist ID in your data? So it is storing your playlist first of all, but the map here is also storing the information of the other playlist, which is not your playlist. It might be sound a bit twist, but sorry, I'm just not how I don't know how to explain it in the easier way. So basically, if you has all of that, okay, so inside the map you has all of the, maybe you have 50 playlists on the left side. In the map you have 50 entry with 50 ID linked to a 50 object. In the data here you also have 50 element inside the array. But when you start to click into a browse, for example, and you click into one playlist, let's say you click into this one, okay, so this one is not your favorite playlist, so it's technically not inside this 50 element. And what I'm doing is like I ask the map, do I have this playlist ID inside the map? And if I don't have it inside the map, I will go to the server and ask for it. And then when the server come back, I also keep adding the data into the map, so that next time when I go back to this playlist itself, I don't have to ask the server one more time. So the playlist here could be that's inside there could be 100 items, but in your data maybe you just have 5 playlists, and it's always fine. But in the map here it could go up to like 1,000 if you just keep open the UI and you just navigate back and forth to a different playlist. And that is the idea, and I hope you understand it. If you don't, just again leave the comment. I will try my best to explain, but sometimes I just couldn't do a bad job on that, so it's no. So let's go back to the store. So I think you understand the idea of the map. So basically I asked the playlist to give me the map, and I just check if the map has the playlist ID. Because it is going through the filter, so only when the filter give me like no, inside there's no playlist at all, that is why I need to start to set the state is to I need to load it. I need to go and ask for it. So that's why it need to say I start to trigger the loading of the playlist from server. So that's why I need to set the status, and all of that is still inside a component store, which means that this data is just equivalent, like not equivalent. It is only needed for displaying on the playlist view. You don't need it anywhere else, technically. Because when you click in, it is where you start to see the spinner. And if you outside of the playlist detail view, you don't need it. So it is all inside the component store. And if you go down, you see there's a map. Actually, what does it do? Okay, so when I has the data, I just set, I'm just telling I am start to load the data. That's why I set the status to loading, and then I'll just take the first one. The first one is basically, this is a param. Actually, I should call it param, but I mean, okay, let me change it to param. Then I just map the param into the param, because when I do the with lattice from, it will give me back an array of data. So the first item into the array is like the param, which is coming from this observable. The second element is gonna be the playlist state playlist state. But I don't use it now. You can see when you hover it, you see it is the playlist state, and because I don't use it now, it is the global playlist state. So I just map it into the param. Actually, I mean, here I can technically map it. Instead of map it into the param, I can map it directly into the playlist. But so that in the merge map, I don't need to destruct it again. But yeah, whatever. It's just the preference. So it's fine. If you can just map the object out, and then you take it from the object, or you map when inside the map you have an object, but you take in the string, and inside the merge map you only has the string. It's just the end is just the same. So I don't think it's good or bad. It's just the preference. So inside the merge map, I start to I will start to return this get by ID from the server. So this playlist ID is actually going to the Spotify API. And then, sorry, just let me pause it. It will ask for data from server. And when it is finished, which is in the tab response here, I think there's two callback, I think. So the first one is like in the next, technically when it is finished, it is succeed. And when it's error, when there's something wrong happen. So when it is finished, I'll just update the global playlist store so that the map now has the new entry with the ID. And inside the current store, I just set it to succeed so that I'm finished loading. You don't have to worry about it anymore. So you just hide the spinner. And then in the patch state thing, if there's error, I just set the status to be an error. And at the moment, I don't display any error because, if it is not very interesting to user, I mean, we don't really need to display it. You could consider to display an error and then there's a button reload or something. But if the user seeing the server cannot give you data, then what does he do? He just need to refresh. So usually this kind of error is not like really makes sense unless the server give you something which is helpful to the user, which is not relating to the code itself. Maybe the user was input into some invalid input, and then the server saying, sorry, you didn't give me the proper input, that's why you need to change it. That is when the error message is helpful. But when the server saying, sorry, I just couldn't give you data because your client side is giving the wrong input, yeah, this one we always need to argue about. But I think it's better to display, instead of display a real error, you can just maybe display there's an error happen, and then you just need to click a button to refresh the page, and I think it's gonna be okay. So that is the load playlist, and after that you will have a playlist, and we can start to display the playlist into the UI, which is this one, which is this playlist. Okay. And next one, what is the next one? Let me go into the track, and then we can just after you understand all of that, we can just start to write code for the album. Maybe it's gonna take longer than half an hour though, but let's see. Maybe we wanna do it faster. There should be somewhere it's calling the track, but I need to see where it is. So there's a playlist. Oh, there's a track, you see. So in the track, basically, if you go into it, it just start to say, you need to start to load the track. And the load playlist track here is inside the playlist track store. So there's a playlist global store and there's a playlist track store, global store. I think this is not a very good separation because sometimes you need to take it. If you keep the playlist has more data, you need to start to break it down into smaller chunk. Maybe we can consider to put it in the same, but I mean whatever. At the moment, it is like separated, and maybe we need to also follow it for the album. But maybe we can just do it quickly for the album, so that I can just store the track of the album inside the album component store itself. But then we lose the capability to remember it, and then next time you go back, you don't have to call the server again. That's always the give and take. There's two sides of the problem. So With this approach, we can say like you can always ask the global store that do you have this track, and inside the global store it is start to do the same process like we did just now with the playlist, even asking if you have if if you actually has this data into the store, or if you don't have it, it start to need to go to server. And if you're doing it and it's work great, then why not? Because at the end, the playlist is not going to change every 2 hours, or maybe it's not changing every 5 minutes, to like every 5 minutes. So if you go into this playlist, for example this one, you go back, you click into the same, you know maybe it just doesn't change, it's nothing changed. So if we store it inside the store, you will save a bit of overhead to the server, because if you build a small app, I think it's not a lot of data. But when you have like a billion user and you can save a billion requests to server, it could be a lot, I would say. Yeah. And especially when the data is not changing a lot, like it's not changing every 2 minutes, or it is not like frequent like a price of the Bitcoin. So why not just store it? But maybe we don't have enough time to separate it out, so I might just putting the same into the album track, no, into the album component store. So I think you have all the pictures, like all of the data that we needed to display the album detail. After going like went through the playlist, so maybe like just write some code. After you understand all of that, so writing code is easy. And also I need just to copy some code over, because I also don't have a very good memory. So inside here, right, we technically wanted to introduce an album store. So just go into data access and then create a new, oh, there's an album store here. That is interesting. Oh, okay, but it is for the album list then. So actually the album here is need to be with the S. So technically we wanted to take this album and then we put it into the album. So you know that there's the album list store. Just move it in. I think we need to make some code change. Not very sure though, but let's just take in the index.ts, another index.ts. And here you just take this index.ts. So with the S, okay. And then in the index here, you just export everything from the album. Okay. It is just the how to say it, barrier, so that when you import from the lib, you have everything. So okay, let's move on to create a new album. And the album here, at the moment I was mixing like to store global store and then component store in the same system. The access, I think it's good for now, it's good enough. But maybe we can consider to store the album store inside the feature itself, but that part I'm not very sure if it is best practice. So at the moment, all of the thing related to data, even like within a component, I still putting it outside. But maybe because it's just related to this component only, so you don't really need to export it. But okay, I check with my friend then. But so let's just create a new album. It's just album store.ts. Actually, I forgot what I need to do here. Let's go back to the playlist. That is how we do all the time. Because after a week, last week, but stream, I didn't really look into the code one like back then. So let's see. So you need to create a service. I mean, because you can do CLI, but I do it faster when I just have some snippets. And then what you do, you just need to extend from the component store. I'm not sure if the VS Code is going to work, so just going to take it. Sorry, so I just going to take it. and then I need to import it manually. Like I mentioned on the last stream, for some reason, VS Code doesn't work very well with NX, or maybe just my machine because I have only 8 gig of RAM. So maybe that's the reason. But so it needs to be NDIX component or okay, and then we need to define a shape of the store itself, of the component store itself. So I think is technically I want to store what I need to store. I need to store the playlist object here. So okay, so we just skip all of the global album map and everything. So I just store all of the data for this component here, so that you get the idea, and then we can end it shorter. Otherwise, live stream could take another 2 hours again. So just do a interface, album state, and then you extend the generic state, generic store is it generic state store. Yeah, I was not very good on the naming as well. So if you found that you can you have a better way of naming, just let me know. I always appreciate that because I'm not the one who do a good naming. I think it's always difficult. So you can take in the Spotify API, and then I think it's gonna be album. Full, maybe? Yeah, okay, just assume it's gonna be the album full. So we need the album ID as well, because technically it's just the same, but okay, that's all. Oh, inside the album state, we have the data, right? There's the data. And the data is basically, it is the object of the of the it is the object of the album itself, and maybe we need a track. So when we start to introduce the track, we start to have the problem. Whereas inside this thing, the album, it might come from the server or it might come from the store. So you might need to display the spinner for the album. But the track is most probably need to come from the server because we don't store it anywhere else. So in the generic state, there's only one status, so that if we are using the same status, so if I finish loading the album, for example, I have the object, this Spotify album object full, but then at that time the track is still loading. So if we are using the same status property, if the first one is finished and the second one is still loading, so that could be the right condition. So the first one you are loading and then you finish, and then the second one is still loading. But because the top is already finished, you also expect that the below one is like start to display some data. And if it's not finished and you are trying to access to some like undefined or unknown or stuff like that, it might not be your best choice. So, but I mean, I just explained to you. So this code might not be go into the master branch later on, but so for the purpose of the live stream, at the moment I just put a track into the same store, and we might reusing the status, or I just take it out and then bring it later on. But at least we can see the data, right, the UI after the live stream. So inside the constructor, technically, because you are extending from an abstract class, is it abstract? No, it's just from another class, not abstract. But you need to call the constructor of the upper level. There's a parent and then the child. And when you extend from the parent, if the parent were expecting 2 parameters inside the constructor, you need to give in the same 2 parameter to the constructor at least. And you could require more, but at least here you need to do a super where you say I will call first the constructor in the parent, and then you do the initial state for the thing, and at the beginning everything will just no, so it doesn't really matter. But Spotify track, let me just finish it. I will try to respond. I think that's the one. Yes, I think it's the one. So if you wanted to, put all of the default value, then that's fine. But I think there's no harm to put it, and we know that everything is undefined. So if you say exactly this object is like in the shape of album state, everything is undefined, then it's gonna be fine. So you don't have to put all of that. But if you prefer to very explicit, feel free to put all of that and set it to undefined or no. Yeah, that's just my thing. Now let's do the album ID, like album param, album ID param. Here should be ID, whatever. Okay. So it is going to be an observable of a string. And in order to access to it, we need to take in the activated route, okay? Private route, which is the activated. Even data from Angular doesn't work, so it is really like very troublesome, like sometimes when I work with. And then actually here it should be unboot song. Okay, just let me change the name quickly. And it's from here. Okay? Actually, you can just set. Usually, the constructor you can just put it all down below. All of the property should come up, but it is just my preference. You can do route, router. It should be route. Router is the router, so it's not the same. So you do route and then you do pi. Then the same like okay. It's just so annoying. Like I need to put it down first, and then it understand. Param, and then you do pi. Because the param here is just basically an observable param, and param basically I think it's just an object. I never really look into it, but you want to look what it is. You see, it's just an object. There's a key and string. Basically, there's an object. Oh, key and any. No, not key and string. That's why inside the playlist here, it didn't understand it is a string. So that's why we need to pass it as string. But most of them will give you a string, so don't worry. So we just need to put a pipe, and then now let's do a plug, because we already has a map here. So I think now you can understand the plug. So plug is just taking the, I think there's a route util somewhere. Okay. And then there's a configuration. Okay, I just configuration. Okay, and then there's an album ID. So I was using this album ID to configure the route, and then now I will take it from this. So you don't have to type in the string manually, because it could end up in some typo. And then when I do the filter here, the filter here need to take from IKS, not from Lodash. Okay, so if it's come from Lodash, you will have a problem. But just take it from IKS, because sometimes I also do the wrong thing. So just take in. So now when it come in, it is the album ID, and then you only wanted this to emit value when there's an album on the URL. You don't want to emit it when there's nothing, right? Just to do a set check. Technically, it should. When it's come here, you should expect something from the param, but it could happen. So that's how I do it. Maybe it's not necessary though. If you feel that it's not necessary, just let me know. I think I will change it if it is reasonable. So now we have the album param. So now I can bring it to the top, and it just work. See? I don't know why it just doesn't work sometimes. Like when I declare a property on top, and then there's a constructor already. I just still don't understand. So it's just so weird. Now we need to has the E playlist. Okay, I'm just following the playlist, so it's gonna be easy. So it's playlist. No, it's album. So I just take is current. Just put in this way either. This is current album loading, which is equal to this dot select. So we do the selector util and then do is loading. Okay? It's just taking the state, and then it said if the status is loading, it will return true. If it's not, then it should return false. For example, yeah. You can always look into it if you feel like. So if it's loading, it's just gonna return true, but if not, it's just gonna return false. So we have it. Okay, so just put the dollar sign so that we has the convention. So the track loading, because now, like I mentioned, because we are sharing the same thing, either you wanted to introduce a new track is loading, which I think is technically is fine. Oh, I mean, let's take this shortcut and then we see how it goes first. Okay, so it is the track loading track with the S, and then we do this dot select, and then you do in the select, it's gonna give you the store, right? Just do the S then. S dot is track loading equal to. Oh, so it's not. It could be a boolean though, but okay. But just following the other, we need to put it in the generic store setup. Okay. So it's gonna suggest us it's loading. Sound reasonable. And now we need to query the track. The track here should be easier. So when you query the track, oh then so why is the playlist itself then? Talk about playlist track. Okay, this is the playlist ID, playlist contact. Where's the playlist? Ah, here. Okay, down below. So okay, just take the album first. So this sort of album ID or param type, because the album is gonna depends on the ID. So that's how the source should need to start from the ID, and then from the ID we will start to do all of the operation to get the corresponding data. So when working with IJS, I think the important is like you just need to specify where is the source coming from, and then what is the output need to come out the IJS stream. So we have the ID, and then when you do the pipe, you can do the tab technically, because you should just go in one time. It has the ID here, and then inside let me think. You can start to this. You can pass this steps with the album ID then, and then the status here you can start to put it to loading because we are doing it just right away. Okay, loading. So now there's no catching, nothing. I'll just emphasize this one more time, okay? And then inside because the ID coming from, so this is param, so okay. So because we wanted to return something from it, yeah, actually maybe we just need to. Actually, what we should do is, okay, maybe we just do a very simple version first. So inside, when you go inside, okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm mixing the selector and the dispatching of the action. I'm not sure if it's the best way to do it. I think maybe not, because selector, you wanted to just take a pure data out of the store. And then the dispatch, you might want to do it inside the component. But okay, so let's do it the simple way first. So the album, basically, I just need to select the album from the store. And when the album is like, when this param is updating, I also need to trigger this load album. Right. So when I also need to trigger the load album so that it will take the data from server. So like I mentioned, like many times before, just repeating myself, we don't cache any album data, so we will just always go to server and ask for it, just get the fresh data from server. So when it go to the tab, and then I'll need to actually start to load the album, and the load album is need to be an effect then. Yeah, okay. And then we will also take out the data from the store, but because we also get it from the store, and then in the store it will also return an observable album. That's why we need the sweep map, so that it will just flatten it out and then return it as the album thing. So sweep map, and then as here this select, put it this way, this dot and s dot album. There. Okay. So the album here is like either an observable album object or it's none. I think this is design ID data, I think. So because the select here is always give you like an observable something, that's why I need the sweep map here. Otherwise, inside the sweep map, you need to do this subscribe and then do in the map you do subscribe and then you need to return, which we never thought it is a good idea to just keep subscribing. So you try to keep the observable alive as possible because you wanted to do a lot of operation on top of it, and then at the end you just do async pi instead of just subscribe. So just don't subscribe too early, and because all of that all of the data from the observable you always can take out from using any kind of operator. So technically you can do it. So now we need to, okay, so just write down function. Okay, actually the loading here we will do it later. So I just do load album. Okay, and then inside I expecting that's the album ID. It's not there yet, but just something I expecting. So now we need to create our load album. Okay, and it is just a function by using this sort effect. Okay, and then in the effect, okay, I show you. So in the effect, the first param is void, which means that you just don't pass in anything, but I will need to pass in the album ID. So that's why I need to pass the type album ID or string, and then inside here you need to return something out it. So return something, and then inside the first param is like, okay, param. Actually, you can just destruct the is it? No, wait. No, it's not. It's not that. It's not. Sorry. So the param here is because it's an observable, so we cannot do it like this way. So it's param, okay, and then param here, okay. It is gonna be an observable album and string, so we need to do pi. We just need to start to destruct from it. Okay, so now we need to do map. Actually, let me just look into this function quickly. So we don't need all of that. Technically, we don't need anything. We don't need to filter. We don't need to take from store because we just don't have it. So what we do is like inside the pipe, if it's go in, right, you just wanted to pass the state to be loading. It's not pass state. Pass state. Okay. Pass state we just we can supply the partial object, and it will just it's like set state in React basically. But if you do set state, I think that also there's a set state. We need to pass in all of the data, like the whole state by using the structure thing. So patch state is easy. So you can just do partial store update, and then this will just work just fine. Okay. So patch state of status, which is loading, I think, and then if there's an error before, we just need to clear it. And then we need, so now we already there, we just need to do I mean switch map or merge map or anything, it just work just fine. But let me do just merge map for now. So out of it, I will take in the param, which is the album ID technically. So I just test the here, right? There's a, so I just need to destruct it, album ID, okay? And then here I need to start to inject in the album API, which is taking from our API service. So now the suggestion is working. That's good. And then here I need to do this dot album. No, dot album API and then dot get by ID, I think. Get by ID. We just need to pass in the album ID because it just doesn't require anything else. And then you need to do a pipe. Because it's basically an observable. So when the data is coming out from it, you want to pass this to the current store. So do pipe. So what you want to do to pipe is there's a tab response. So see, let's handle the response in the component store effect in the same way without additional boilerplate. So it always enforce the error is always handled because if the inner observable is dying, so the whole observable is just dying. So usually you need to handle the inner observable. And sometimes we just forgot to handle it and it just keep the whole effect is die. You cannot trigger it again. It just completely die. That's why there's a lot of error went into it, and that's why they just created the operator. Sorry. Sorry. Tab response is basically there's a tab and then inside there's two there's two callback function, and then you need to handle both of them, and you'll be safe. So the first one is the function that take in the album. So it should be album. Actually, that. And the second one is there's an error which is unknown because they just don't know. So in both of the cases, you need to handle it. So in the tab response, what you wanted to do is to say let's dot patch this, okay, and then you need to set the data which is album file, right? This is the album now, so it needs to be in the album, and then is loading. No, it's status. Okay, it's gonna be succeed, and then there's any error before, just clear, just to be safe. Here we don't patch it because there's a action from the global store to set it on the global store, but here we need to set it inside the component store. That's the idea. And here we just need to set the error to status error, and then you start to error. Here you need to actually set error, and then because the error here, so you just do. You need to do the inference, right? So just do as string because it's an unknown. So unknown cannot be assigned to anything. So you need to make sure that you know the type of the thing that is assigning, to the property. So if it's unknown and you know it exactly is going to be an array, you need to do this as what's it? Time inference. It's not inference. It's not inference. This is is this casting? I just forgot the term. And after that, you are gonna be safe because when you call load album, you haven't seen any subscribe, right? So you are wondering how this album ID get by ID here is gonna work. And the answer, if you look into the component store source code, you will see when this thing is returned, it just subscribe for you automatically, so you don't have to worry about it at all. And yes, that's it. So inside here we have the load album, and now it's working. So we also need the track. But maybe should we like just start with the album first? Maybe, yeah. And actually, here is a track data, a track loading. That's all right. Okay, so I think we are pretty good for the album. What is it? Restore, save it. So actually first let's just check our new branch. I always forgot. Album detail. Okay. Okay, album detail. And then yeah, I think it's on go. So we just need to provide it inside. So it's not root, no? So it just need to be an injectable. And then we just need to provide it inside the album store. No, sorry, in the album component. It is just when I created with the boilerplate, it just automatically set the provided in root, but we don't need it. We don't need it everywhere. So there's a provider fine album store. That's expecting. So to import it, and before we can import it, we also need to export it. Modify album feature. Okay. It's not here yet because we need to export it. New index. And you export everything out of it. Okay. And just everything out of it in the index.ts. Okay. Oh, not this, sorry. So sorry about. I think I'm looking at the wrong file. Yeah, here's with the. Yes, that's how it is. Okay, so we have the album store now. So technically, what we wanted to do in this is like we can just do constructor, and that's just inject it. So store is like component store, like album store basically, right? And what you need to do is to take the album out of it. So you need to take this album, and then because it just equal to store.album, right? And what we need to do is just take it and display it by the async pi, and we also need this album loading. And which is this dot store dot. Yeah, see that sometimes it doesn't work. So I need to bring it down. It's currently loading. Okay. I think yeah, that is we can start to use it. But let's go here, and then actually let's look into what the playlist component will display. Like I mentioned, we can reuse a lot of code from there. So, and you can see that's the AS media summary, which technically it is that one. Oh, okay, we haven't done it yet. So sorry. So this is the media summary. This one, AS media summary, and then that's the I button on like below, right? So and just right below there's a track loading. Oh, I think it's not necessary then. Oh, you can check loading. What is that though? Oh, okay. All of that is because this thing. Okay, maybe I should not call it a track loading. Maybe it's like AES skeleton loading or something. So when you go into anything, right, you see there's a skeleton. See, on top is fine, but you go to another later. See, on the top also there's a skeleton. So at the beginning, I was calling it as a AS track loading. It is separated component, obviously, but I think the naming we can do is better. We can do it just AS skeleton, maybe, yeah. And so I need this because I need to show the current and also I need that to show the summary. So maybe just copy it. Okay, let's copy it over. Just copy it. I mean, that's how we do with the code. So I have no shame to do it. Just do album dot component. This is the first one I need. Okay, because there's the few spacing and stuff. Maybe we need to extract down, but whatever. So there's a playlist loading here as well. I'm not sure. Does it do? Let's see. Oh, there's a min high of something interesting. Okay, okay. So the min high is always to display the media, like the summary. You get what I mean? To always has the same high, no matter what. So basically, that's how we do. We can actually put it in the same, but okay, maybe just do it with component then. With album then. I'll just call it album. The min high here, we should technically has the place to centralize all of that together, right? So, but for now, I think it's just to for the purpose of today. Maybe we should just go ahead. I'm not sure if we has enough time to do also the track, but okay, let's see. So just do double loading. Okay, sounds good. And then it's complaining because the track loading is not there. We need to import it inside the module, like I mentioned, because a single component is attaching to a single module. So now I just need to import this module, and that is going to work. So we don't need this anymore. So we just can remove this. Work in progress. So now we need to import the track loading. You know, that is so frustrating. Sometimes it just doesn't work. That's the meaning, but you know, still, if the auto import it doesn't work, it's just very time consuming. Okay, okay. Hopefully, should be okay now. Okay, okay. So that is yeah. Sometimes it's like also the auto suggestion also doesn't work. Can see it? Zero. So just restart and the language server. Maybe it's not work now. It's so weird. I just album loading then. I don't know why. What I think was maybe my machine was too slow. So this, if it is true, then we will show it. If it's not, then we don't. Technically, that is how. What is the meaning of it? And now we need to start to take it, the AS media summary thing. Okay. Maybe the playlist button as well. Okay, so we also need this playlist playing, and we also need the same because Spotify will track how it is playing by an URI. So we cannot use the same thing, but I think I has the function for it. So it technically should be very quick. So just copy the whole thing over. Okay. Okay then. Okay. Copy the whole thing. So go to album. Where's the album? Okay, there's the album. Yeah. I need this too. Yes. Okay. So the play button I just commented out first. Okay, and then I need this media summary. And see how frustrated it is, like module. Right, so I need to also do a manually import, and I just don't like it. Okay, yeah, summary. Okay. Technically should work. So we need to type in the type because you see, because there's just no suggestion at all. But it technically should display the suggestion. album dot uh, okay, media summary, media. Then you go into TS, you can see that there's a time, and because I define it very clear, so technically it should suggest everything for me. But okay, whatever, it doesn't work and it doesn't work. So just send in the album, okay, and then just do a wrapper cannot, and I just put all that into it. Maybe we need to end today's stream only when we just can display the album, because I also have something later on, and now it's already like 10, 15 minutes. Thanks for everyone who studied. Thank you so much. This means a lot. It's exciting then adds album. Okay. Now when it has this album, and because there's no time, it is very frustrated. Let's do a restart server again. Maybe TypeScript as well. Yes. Hopefully it's gonna work. Otherwise, it's very. Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. You can see it. There's no error now. So now everything is gone, basically. So if it's happened, then we has no choice. Just go back to this, go back to that, go into this, go into that. No choice. Then you need to look. It's like we do JavaScript, not like even TypeScript anymore. Okay, man, now it's work. Should work. So if I do example, still doesn't. Ah, okay. So weird. So no choice then. So look into it and then we extract what we need. So there's an album and then we need the wow, there's a track inside. Oh, that is nice. It has everything. I didn't know. Oh, okay. That's awesome. Then we don't need the track for album anymore. It's just inside the album already. That is crazy. That is so good. So we can just type in the album name. Okay, album name. Sorry, I don't know how to fix it. Then just the Angular doesn't work with the album description. Maybe that's description, but maybe not. Description doesn't sound like something for album. I would say so. So to add this playlist.owner.play. Oh, okay. So I just type the album dot it is. I think you understand how frustrated it is. So just do 0 and do name track count because it has the track property. So everything is could be easy, much easy now. Go back to just go into items. Then there's a name. Okay. List that. It is whatever. So description here maybe is empty technically. Just leave it. Then the track count maybe it's album not track. Oh, album also. Oh, okay. I think there's always the track inside, but there's not a lot of information though. Okay, I think you get it. So it's not the track that you can display and then you can play it. It's just some simplified data. Okay, so then going to the track then. Track object simplify. There's itis, there's a duration, there's a name. Do you have name? The type that doesn't have a name. There's a name. Um, so technically we can use it to display something already. We don't need to ask for it from server. But it's still good though. I would say it's very good. So because it's wrapping in the paging object, so it should be the same total. Album.track.total. And the like count, no, do we have it? Popularity? Is it? No, I don't think it has a like. Let's just remove it. Okay then, if it work and it's work, if it's not then it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't sound very obvious. So now the view is doesn't work because there's some error. Okay, so description done. Is this that's true? But I mean I understand. It just doesn't show me on the UI. How do I know? Just save it one more time. I think it's gonna go away. No. Okay, let me view it again. I think there's something is wrong here. Okay, description here doesn't. Okay, save it. Hmm, 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 hmm. It's so weird. I just you can see how difficult it is when we cannot has the auto suggestion from TypeScript, and I think it's just like we lose the whole point of using TypeScript. So I think the target today is okay. At the end, we try to display this summary, and maybe last week we continue to display the track and then to play the track. Then I think this is the most realistic timeline again. I think I can give you. Not very easy. So go to over here, right? This album. This okay. We have this working then. So there's a four song inside. This is the maybe so this is 80s. And if you go into my album and then go to this, okay, so there's a album. Can you see it? You feel we are doing good work here, or you you don't? Okay, so we need to display the play button and also the track, but we don't have a lot of time left. But let's see if the track is there. So maybe we just do it quickly. I just do some very like copy and paste stuff and to clean it up later on. I think you own fine with it. So just don't look into the responsive a lot. Yeah, I just don't spend a lot of time on that. So this album. Oh, there's a track, everything inside. So there's item, and there's artist, a lot. Okay, that's good then. Maybe we go into one of my favorite one. Yeah, it's clean. Something that's more song. Maybe this. Yeah, there's everything. Track, item, everything. You see? So we can start to display the track though. Okay, maybe I do it quickly. So we have this. So technically we don't need to do the track now because everything is inside the album, which is I don't expect it, but okay, that is so good. Maybe playlists were different because playlist there's a lot of track could be inside. I don't know. I say maybe it has, but I forgot. So let me think. So we need the play button. What is this playlist action then? Doesn't need to be anything. So just let me just do this. I'll just import in the playlist button module. Okay. And then just import it. I also wanted to finish it, but if we cannot do it, like finish everything today, so next week then. Playlist, not playlist, playlist button. Spotify. That's how we spend a lot of time, playlist button. I just saw it. Okay, so we have play button module, and then it should go away. The error should go away. Okay. So now we just need to do a few things. We need to ask if the playlist is still playing. No, it's if the album is playing. So we either display it as the play or the pause button, or and then we just toggle the playlist. I just copy a code over. Go back to playlist store. Okay. Playlist playing. So we just combine it. Combine it. So let me go back to the album.store. Okay, so that's the okay. So let me remove all of that. Very good now. Don't need it. Don't need that. Okay, excellent. Then we just need to do it. Okay, do it on top. Easy. We just do combine like this of this dot playlist with playlist. Or that's dot album. Okay. Wrong. Okay, so this I need the playback store. That's why it's complaining. So private playback store and then do playback service. Yeah, this thing doesn't work, so it takes a lot of time on that. So maybe I need to get used to WebStorm and then change everything to WebStorm. Price like what playback store? No, data access. Data access. To be shared across. Okay, we have the playback store already. Why still complaining? Album type unknown, which is weird. Do we have it? We have it. So map is like album. And maybe we need to read a bit slowly. The album here is something, and we map it so that we have this. Oh, the no UI. Let's search until that. What is weird? Let me see if we can do it outside of that. This is totally fine here, no? Okay, we just comment it out. And it's expecting observable string or undefined private state. I don't know, still don't get it. So it's saying the first observable that's unknown, and we need to give it a string or it's undefined. That's what it's saying. So somehow this one doesn't give a string. So if I just do off, fine. Off. Okay, so it should work. Okay, so if I bring it back, it's still complaining. But the album here is very obvious. It is either an object. The map here. Okay, we don't have map. Okay, that's so weird. Get it? Yeah, the error just sometimes doesn't very obvious. So be patient. So we just change the name to is album loading, and then we just need another method to toggle the playlist. I'll just copy the code. I know exactly what I'm doing. So just toggle it, and then here's I need the album ID. Okay, so is E playing or not? Okay, it's playing. If it's E playing, I'll just toggle. Okay, so this is player. Okay, so inject is again. Almost there, guys. Here's API service. And this boolean. Okay. Then price config URI. Oh, okay. I think because the URI is not, we need to check if it's inside or so the URI then. So I can just, oh, okay. No, because we don't store this UI anywhere else. So what we need to do is need to, uh, combine list it with the album here. Wow. Okay. So we also need to take the voice. Oh, actually, we can just send him the also send him the UI. I think it's gonna work. So just send him, and then we see how we do it. Just string, no. Okay, we need to destruct it here. Okay, so we have this toggle playlist, and when you wanted to do toggle playlist, right? No, it's not toggle playlist. It's toggle album. Okay, then we're almost there. So we need this is album. We need this is album playing because this loading. So we need this album playing. That's the first. It is also a stream. We just just need to bring it down again. Then so we're is album playing. Then we need the toggle album. And here I need to just send him URI. It's just a string. Right. So we just need to do store dot toggle album. Then because here I will take it from the component, the play button itself. So just code is play boolean. So let's do play and UI. Look nice. I think the whole has over everything. So let's see. Is and here it toggle album. What's complaining? Undefined is not assigned to string. Whatever. Okay, I need to give it the UI, so it needs to be album dot UI. There's no, oh, there's no inside. Okay, okay. String identifies. Okay. This must be there. Think it's gonna work. Go back. Let me just check. Let me go. I go to Nvidia Motion Monitor. Click. Oh, working, guys. So we just need to render the track here, and I think maybe that part we can do next week. So you click, it's play the album, and that's great though. I think let's see what I like the most. This I like. There's some Vietnamese song I really like. Dreamy also good. This is that's Taiwanese singer. I also like. This is very old Vietnamese song. There's a lot of post rock I like. This is like black metal, which is um, very hardcore. I've been listening to it for like few years in the high school or university. So playlist this. Okay, look good. I think just roll it over. I think it's look fine then. So with that, I think let's continue building. Just the track here is gonna be easy. So what I do is I gonna commit the code. I update the link to the branch on the show note, and if you feel like you wanted to do it, then do it, and just let me know. If you have a PR, I'm happy to merge it then, because the code is gonna be very similar to the playlist, and I think you can do it easy. I think it's not a problem. But for now, maybe let me just put back the. No, maybe I will do it later. So I will put back another live stream for next week. We will. No, actually, I'll just continue this one for the next week live stream. So next week live stream is like we will go build this 80s detail when you click into the link, and we before we continue with the 80s detail, maybe just spend like 15 minutes to build the track detail of the album, and I think it's gonna be good then. Yeah, with that, I would like to say thanks to all of you who stay until the very end, and have a nice weekend. I think it's gonna. Is it raining? Yeah, I think it's raining outside. So have a nice weekend, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in today. It's mean a lot. Thank you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.